over here, live over here. That one's just not wanting to go live.
Live settings.
We're going live everywhere.
I just can't see the whole phone is the problem.
Live settings.
I know, right?
Says
something went wrong.
Something went wrong. That's what it said. We're going to have to go out and go back in.
Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome to
We are having a technical difficulty on Kate's page. So those of you that may be waiting, you're probably not watching us if it's on Kate's page. Oh, this is TurningLeaf's page. Okay. So it's the people waiting on TurningLeaf's page. Maybe that's why it went.
I wish we had a little elevator music right now.
Yeah, because I think you were on your page.
I think I was too. So it can't go live at two places at once.
Yeah. Well, we're excited as we're working to get this feed up to visit with you and to spend Monday Night Live.
Yes. The best night of the week.
So here we are. We are excited. We're heading towards summer for a lot of individuals.
Glorious summer.
Glorious summer. We've got graduations coming out all over the place. We've got our graduations here in St. George this week.
This week, yeah.
Yeah. And so a big shout out to those graduating. I have a son graduating, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yes.
So we've got a lot of people that are moving on and moving forward in their lives, and super exciting. So as tonight, we wanted to really stay in that vein as we're still working. So those of you that may be kicking over from our other pages to try and find out what's happening. Our TurningLeaf page is currently having technical difficulties.
Currently just trying to load.
Just trying to load. And so tonight we figured we'd spend some time going over a topic that we feel like would be really impactful as far as helping us with our youth, our children.
Yes.
So one of the things that we've been doing a lot is really developing and working on the value-based parenting model. And value-based parenting is really based upon the idea, the principle of working more around core values, working more from the values from within these young men and women and within your family to help navigate and to guide. And where normally we're running our home from rules and laws, and a lot of those systems that just don't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so value-based parenting is a system that has been created to make it a lot easier to parent. And not only that, to be able to give children a sense of why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
And why they're hanging on to these core values, why they're doing the things that help them to move forward. So one of the segments that we wanted to cover tonight was from the value-based parenting.
Yeah, I love it. So the fun thing about value-based parenting for me is for years and years and years, I worked in our county mental health place here in St. George and worked with kids and in crisis and trying to help parents. Is it working? Oh, it did connect. Yay. Help parents with difficult children.
I'll take over.
Thank you.
You keep going.
I'm super close. I'm on the page, but and I learned a lot of different parenting modalities. There's behavior modification tactics. There's that whole like reward systems, like stickers, and did we get it?
We got it. Here, okay. I'll let you put it up.
And
token economies.
Token economies. Yeah.
Sorry about this, YouTube fans.
Oh my gosh. For real right now?
We're just really working
Zoom
to get this up. So we've never had this much difficulty with just Facebook page.
Oh,
before.
There we go.
No, not quite.
There we go. Did it zoom in?
I'm not sure.
We're going to call it good.
Stay where you are. I'm going to fix this.
Okay. So anyway, it was really fun coming over to TurningLeaf. In fact, that's probably one of the, other than our Families with Addicts support group,
right?
One of the first things in my value-based life coach training was jumping into the value-based parenting.
Right.
And it was so fun to see some of the crossovers of what I had been teaching parents for years, as well as the new information that I found to be completely just next level when it comes to parenting. Because it takes a lot of that personalization and reaction out of running a household. And not even just in parenting, but also in just the relationship with the child. So in vice versa, right? Like the child's relationship with the parent. And so I'm super stoked to talk to you guys about this topic tonight.
Yeah, Kate pulled it out of the mix of all of the different topics and the different pieces of the value-based parenting model. Again, we're still sorry, Justy here.
Jackie says smooth, real smooth.
Thanks,
girl. Thanks for calling us out. We can be accountable.
But she's pulled one of the pieces that we talk about. One of them that we really visit on is rebellion, really helping parents understand rebellion. But to really understand rebellion in children, we need to understand rebellion within us as human beings, and how we rebel and why rebellion is such an important part of our maturation. A lot of times we see rebellion, and this is something that we have to understand, is rebellion comes from a sense of feeling controlled or feeling out of control.
Right.
So even if you ever have felt in control or out of control or controlled by others or situations, you usually and generally will rebel. And we can see rebellion happen in a couple ways. We're going to see a passive rebellion, or we're going to see more of an aggressive rebellion.
Right. Active.
Or active rebellion, where there's really a lot of people really acting out. And we see this a lot in cultures and in societies, where you'll see a lot of protests and you'll see a lot of subversion and a lot of different types of things where people are trying to express, I feel that I'm being controlled, or I feel like I'm out of control.
Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting when we look at it, at least for me, when I look at it in that global way, because sometimes rebellions can be very motivating, right?
Yeah.
They can really get in and be the change agents in our society. We can start to really move and shift things in a more healthy way. And then sometimes it's not. Sometimes it feels like really aggressive, really narrow, kind of targeting a certain population or a topic, and it can kind of start to feel sticky or heavy in those kind of rebellions. And I feel like the same thing happens with, like, I love how you're talking and bringing it with us, right? Like in our own places that we have rebellion, and then also bringing it into that family style of when our children rebel.
Right.
Because sometimes, and that's a hard pill to swallow, when the rebellion's actually helpful and help moves you in a healthy direction.
Right. Yeah. And it is. I see that happen a lot, where a lot of times when people are being moved in a positive direction, or they're being encouraged to move in a different direction, there is rebellion. And I'm one of those individuals that, and I always love that about my mentor, Dr. Moody. Both of us have that stubbornness inside of us. And it was, if one of us was trying to move the other person that we weren't quite ready or agreed with, you would see our rebellion kind of come out, and we would push back a little bit. And that's the part that we have to recognize. And I think that's the other piece that we want to kind of bring out a little bit is, as you were talking about, is not personalizing rebellion. And one of the struggles we have as parents, especially, is that when a child rebels, we experience it as a form of rejection.
Yes.
And so I see this especially in religion, for example, where children will start to rebel against maybe a familial religion, or a religion that has been in going on for a period of time, generations. And finally, an individual's like, hey, I don't want to participate in this anymore. So what happens is the family sees that rebellion as a form of rejection.
Right.
Now, the rejection is a right and wrong game. We talked about this so much, this right and wrong game that we play up in our heads, which is nothing to do with your moral compass. It has nothing to do with your morals and your core values. What it has to do with is not wanting to be wrong.
Right.
So a lot of times parents, when your child is rebelling, you're taking it as though your children are telling you you're wrong, or that they are doing something wrong. And so as a consequence of that, we rebel.
Right.
And we get angry. I'm sorry, we personalize that.
We personalize it and we get angry. I think another way that we personalize it is we look at that act of rebellion or their way of trying to get some sort of control in their life as a failure on our part, that we didn't raise them up well enough, that we didn't teach them the way that they should go well enough.
Right.
That now they're finding this other path that maybe isn't in alignment with what it is that we were wanting to create for them, because it's what they want to be creating for themselves. And so, yeah, we personalize it, and then we just feel like this utter failure as a parent.
Which is another point where we're bringing up judgment, judgment again, which is a right and wrong game.
Right.
And really judging ourselves harshly. Or maybe we're feeding into the judgment of other people or what other people may think if. But regardless, that judgment is still a game that we're playing up in our head. And that's the part that we have to recognize and remember. If children rebel of you or from you, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them and their self-perception. And even some of the greatest individuals in our world that have impacted the world in the most positive ways have had children rebel against them. Like I think of Mahatma Gandhi, who really had a huge impact in our world and really shaped it in a lot of different ways. But he himself, his children, rebelled against him. And I think where we play this right and wrong game a lot, what happens is we try to equate the level of a parent's quality or the quality of a parent based upon the behavior of their children, which makes no sense. I mean, it really doesn't, because a child has their own brain, their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own heart, and they're going to respond or react the way they choose to respond or react, regardless of how you raise them. So to try and determine whether a parent is a good parent or a bad parent based upon the behavior or the outcome of their children it just makes no sense.
Yeah, it's not the standard to be looking at
No.
all. No. And so then tonight we want to talk to you about some different ways to be able to really not only understand where the rebellion's coming from, but how to manage that emotionally in yourself, right? And we're kind of harping on this value-based parenting piece, but really we can blow that up and look at it globally. We can look at it within our communities, and we can look at it within ourselves as well.
Right. Yeah.
And still apply the same coping strategies and the same, me, I'm always like, let's just get curious about this. Let's see what there is here to actually discover and learn, instead of getting so defensive so quickly.
Yeah. And that defensiveness, again, is that reactive, that taking things personally, the fear of, and I think that's the part that we have to recognize, is when people rebel or when children rebel, it's an expression. And that's the part we want to be able to do. We have to step back and we have to understand. We've got to seek to understand. Stephen Covey Sr. talked a lot about that in his seven habits of highly effective people, is to seek to understand.
Yes.
Seek first to understand. A lot of times as parents, we don't really step back. We see the rebellion as a frustration, or maybe we're seeing people in our society that are rebelling or acting out. And our first impulse is to get angry. Our first impulse is to personalize and to get frustrated with it, instead of stepping back and really looking to understand what's going on.
Absolutely. And you're totally right, because it all is systemic of fear, right?
Yep.
Like it comes from a huge place of just being afraid that we're losing this thing that we love so much.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's part of you and whatever it is that you're rebelling against in your world, or your child, or whatever's going on in the community, it still is the same thing. It's a loss. It's a fear of loss.
It is. And I can tell you from experience as a parent myself, it is a hard thing to experience when a child starts to have their own thoughts and have their own preferences and their own feelings. It can be scary. I know it was scary for me to experience that, and to not work hard to not take it personally. It is a challenge because these are your children.
Yeah.
These are your people in your life. And I've had friends that have rebelled, and I've had colleagues and all these different people in your life that will rebel in some form or fashion. But it is really critical that you don't personalize that as a good or a bad, or a right or a wrong, but you really step back from that and you ask yourself, what am I learning from this?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I feel like that whole, what is it that Dr. Covey said?
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Right. So if you seek first to understand, which I feel like is that value-based piece of it, right? Really lean in with the intention to understand it, seek to understand it, and then find the value in it, right? What is the bigger picture here? Like, can we zoom out a little bit and see it?
Yes.
Instead of being so in it, to be able to zoom out and see it, and really help that child understand their value-based systems and how they want to be navigating their life.
Yeah.
Like that, honestly, when I first was introduced to the value-based parenting, that idea of having every member of your family come up with their top 10 values and then navigating their lives according to that, and then creating the family's values and navigating the family according to that, is so completely empowering. It's beautiful. So if the rebellion begins to happen, in my mind, listen, I have 3 cats. So I know that I have a lot of personal experience, personalized experience.
Cats, they're rebellious.
Hermione is a little bit rebellious, but I'll say personalized experience with this, because I have a lot of experience with this, working with teens and parents and just so much. But being able to help the rebellious one, right, begin to really identify their values and why they're doing what they're doing, also adds a layer of that understanding for us that are watching and being affected by the rebellion. Right.
And that's the thing. Look, rebellion has been going on forever.
And hallelujah. Thank heavens for rebellion.
It is so important for us to embrace rebellion as what it is, just information. And that's the thing. If we can step back and start to see rebellion as information, and really that's all it is. Because if you look at all the rebellions that have ever taken place in the world, it does take us through the different transitions in life. And in the parenting, we talk a lot about, codependency. We talk about independency and interdependency. And that rebellious piece is what moves us from one stage to the next stage to the next stage. And we have to recognize that some form of rebellion is a necessity. And it is important for us to be able to rebel, and in order for us to express and to be different. And when we repress that, when we shove it down, when we stifle it, when we stop it because we're scared, then what we do is we actually take one of the most important pieces of human maturation, one of the most important pieces of humans' progression, and we just squelch it. And then we tell everybody, no, you're supposed to look the same, act the same, be the same, feel the same. And we can see how that works.
Yeah.
We see that now, where people will eventually, and I'm confident of this, people will eventually start rebelling against the media, and that people will start rebelling against the influencers that are out there that are telling us how we're supposed to think the same, act the same, feel the same, etc. And that's what's really happening right now on social media. For those of you that are paying attention, is we're all being told to act and feel and be the same.
Right.
Eventually, there's going to be a rebellion.
Well, I think there's already an underground rebellion. Like, you can feel it.
It's starting.
You can feel the culture.
And so as we watch that, we need to be okay with that and let it evolve into the next thing. Because what led us to this point was social media was a form of rebellion. It was a way for people to rebel. It was a way for people to influence us and to wake us up and to allow us to see things in a different way. but we also need to be aware, and we need to be willing to rebel when we feel controlled or we feel out of control. But we don't have to do it in a violent way. We don't have to do it in a disrespectful way. And I think that's the thing that I hope everybody takes from this. I know I'm going on.
I love it.
But if you rebel, be respectful. There's a lot of wonderful ways to be rebellious in a very respectful way. Because if you're rebellious in a respectful way, you'll be heard. If you're rebellious in a disrespectful way, you're just going to be dismissed.
Yeah. Well, and really with that, like, kind of erratic, like explosive, and we've talked about this in other lives, you're just adding to the cacophony, right? Like, you're not actually being heard. But to like put in a rebellious movement that is eloquent and well thought and just full of passion and purpose, that's how change gets made.
Yes.
Like, you think about all of the major rebellious acts from you're the history buff, right? Like, I know a little bit.
I like it.
Yeah. Like, I know a little bit, but to me, those are the most impactful ones, right? Like the big silent protests that happen sometimes, or the marches that don't end up in chaos and looting, right? Because then the story is about the looting and not about what change is trying to be made.
Right. We're not heard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So those are some powerful
I want to read
things.
some of these.
I know that we've had a lot of comments here.
Oh yeah, Chadley just says the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yes. If you haven't checked out that book, do it. It's on our recommended reading list.
Recommended reading,
the infamous recommended reading list.
Yes.
And thank you, Amber. Thanks. Amber says she loves this topic.
Yes.
So that's awesome. You guys are awesome.
We're out of time. So again, those of you, we apologize on the TurningLeaf page.
Sorry,
we had a little technical glitch, but thank you everybody for liking and sharing our videos. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for commenting. Please, again, take these topics and apply them. Talk about them in your dinner tables, your
water coolers,
and all the other places that you associate with others. We sure appreciate you. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Yes. See you next Monday Night Live. Bye. Okay, wait, hang on.
Oh, this is the one we have to smile, right?
Yeah, right here.
There you go.
Bye, Instagram. Post.
Your dinner tables, your
water coolers,
and all the other places that you associate with others. We sure appreciate you. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful